everyone, Alexa Dunn here, and today we are going to be talking about the single worst word in my latest manuscript, and it might be the worst word in your manuscript as well. How do you know? Well, we're gonna talk about it. This is me totally calling myself out. Now, we've always heard the conventional writing wisdom that adverbs are bad. You shouldn't use adverbs. They're bad. And I've said before on this channel that I am not anti-adverb and that I'm not going to come after you for using them. However, still true. But in the process of revising my latest book, The Ivies, with my new editor, she did something brilliant that has opened my eyes to one of my worst writing crutches. We've talked about writing crutches before, and I do want to say as a side note, this is why I love editors, because when you work with a new editor, they have a new style, new things that kind of tick for them, and you can discover all sorts of interesting things about yourself as a writer, and it's all about improvement. And now that I've seen this, I can't unsee it. And it's not adverbs as a whole, it's just one, so we are going to be talking about the word just. So it turns out I have a huge problem with the word just, and now I know when I go back and read old writing, I will not be able to unsee it, and it's all probably garbage. I mean, not really, but I heavily relied on the word just in my manuscript. It's clearly subconscious, because how else do you use a word 329 times in a 310-page manuscript? That's more than one a page. And now, I did go many pages without using the word just, but then it would appear 4 times on a single page. And how do I know this? My editor did something that you can do too, and I highly recommend you do this on your next edit pass for a work. Basically do a find and replaced for the word just, and in the settings you can do advanced format settings and pick highlight. It'll highlight every single time you use the word just. So then as you comb through your manuscript to edit it, you'll see every single time you use that word. And what I've done on this revision that has strengthened my writing, and now I catch myself every single time I do it, is every time I run up against an instance of the word just, I have to challenge myself to try to express whatever idea I'm trying to get across in a different way, or justify the use of the word just. It's about earning the justs that I do use while coming up with stronger writing in places where it's just not necessary. Don't worry, I will be giving you examples. Gonna really fully call myself out. All told, I'm nearly done with my revision, and I've gotten those 329 justs down to 143, which is still a lot of times to use a word, but I was careful to ensure that the ones that I decided to keep were earned. So, examples. Let's go over some instances where I used just, especially multiple times on one page, where I was able to come up with honestly quite easy and elegant solutions that changed the overuse of this word, a crutch word. What I basically ended up discovering, and why I wanted to make this video, is in a ton of these instances, I simply didn't need it. It wasn't even about replacing the word just, it was just deleting the word just. I was modifying the statements that I was making unnecessarily. They were perfectly strong, if not stronger, without the word. And this is the root of that advice that you hear, adverbs are bad, cut your adverbs. It's about looking for stronger prose, stronger statements, and in many cases, if you're using adverbs as a crutch, that's what it's all about. It's just recognizing those places where it is used in that way and eliminating it so that you have stronger prose. Examples. So first is an example where I'm pretty sure I fought for it. I'm looking at the original annotated version of my manuscript, not the final one right now, and the sentence is, "This is fun for you. But I know to him I'm just a psychotically competitive boarding school bitch." I'm pretty sure I kept that just, because this is a case where I'm using just as a qualitative statement that is meant to up the impact of the statement that I'm making. But further on the same page is a great example where it's very, very easy to eliminate, where I say, blah, 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 first part, it's about a thing, and it says, "But we always held the December issue until just before the Christmas holidays." You know what can easily replace the word just? Right? Right is perfectly good until right before the December holidays. Don't have to use just in this instance. I think that's probably what I went with, but you can always do like a modifier like until the day before, just be more specific. So essentially in these places where you're using just, you're looking for opportunities for better specificity, subbing in similar words and synonyms. Just and right, when used in relation to time, can be substituted for each other. For instances where you eliminate it altogether to make the sentence stronger, I will find an example of that for you. Or those cases where you really are using it for specific emphasis or as part of an idiomatic phrase. I have some of those as well. And so you're going to fight to keep them. It's not that you can't have the word in your manuscript at all, but don't be like me and use it 329 times. Literally the next page I used it 4 times, so this is going to be really great. The first one I have the character start off a sentence with, I was just, and then she cuts herself off. Cut it. I was, or I was only. Like, it's that is just like a totally like throwaway one that's easy to eliminate. Though obviously she was starting to say something qualitative. But the next one I have is, I should have just applied early decision, not going on the rest so I don't spoil. I think that's one where I replaced just with simply. And I know you're like, you just exchanged that for a different adjective. Sometimes that's what you have to do when you've used just 4 times on a single page and you just gotta get something down. I tried to limit myself to really only using the word when I could really justify it. Later in the same sentence, because why not, I say the phrase blank blank blank, that would be just perfect for me. This is an example where I just eliminated the word entirely. There's nothing wrong with the statement, that would be perfect for me. It doesn't need the qualifier. It's a nice bonus if I hadn't used the word 4 times already on the page. Another example of that in the next paragraph, again, I have character name just doesn't understand how stressful this is for me. It's again, one that I just, crutch word, that I didn't need. See, I fixed it there for you right there in my spoken sentence as well. I just dropped it and it says character doesn't understand how stressful this is for me. It's still a perfectly strong statement. It just didn't need the just. Here's just another quick example of a one where I was easily able to drop the word just, it wasn't needed. I have someone speaking and I use the phrase, the tag, just a shade of panic in her voice. A shade of panic in her voice is just as descriptive in terms of it being a minuscule sliver because I use the word shade, which is already doing the job of describing what I want. Just was just this extra modifier thrown in out of habit. Another page here, these are also examples where you just drop it. And I'll just tell so-and-so. You can say, I'll tell so-and-so. I have someone say, just lie. They can simply say lie. Simply is a good sub out for just, by the way, as is only, both depending on the context, kind of like I used right earlier when it came to time. And that's the thing, just is a crutch word that you can use in a lot of different places and for a lot of different kind of intentions and meaning. Just some further examples, I have a statement of time on a different page where I say it's just past 2 a.m. And I think I changed it to something like it's a hair shy of 2 a.m. or a smidge past 2 a.m. You could also rewrite a sentence like that. So it's challenging yourself to find different ways to say a similar thing so that you're both less repetitive and sometimes more descriptive than you were originally. Here's another example where I don't actually think I made this fix, but it's the first one I could find where it would work, but it is a fix I used in the manuscript where I have someone say, I'm just blank. I use that a lot. And in this case, you could do a very quickie where you change it to, but I'm wondering. This is going to work best in dialogue where it's okay for someone to be speaking in a more casual manner, but it's an easy way to sub out some of those justs. I definitely used it more than once. And here's a good example of where I was able to sub in the word only for just. Someone says, anyway, I just wanted blank, 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 and I have them say, I only wanted. I feel like the next level of my evolution as a writer is probably learning to use fewer adverbs, but in this case it was about solving the problem that was on the page, which is sheer volume of the word just, that it really stood out to my editor. And I think mostly it was about those cases where the sentence was simply stronger without it, and it didn't need the word at all. So what I challenge you to do is do what my editor did. Do that find and replace, highlight every single time you use the word just, and set yourself the task of going through your manuscript and trying to make those sentences different, stronger, better. Now, when I'm actively drafting, because I've been writing some new passages for this book, I have caught myself every time I've used the word just, and I've stopped and asked myself, how necessary is the word just here? What am I trying to say, and can I say it stronger? This generally is my advice for any situation where you have a crutch word, and I do have a video on that. I think I did it as one of my old writing hacks, but these are words that you use all the time, over and over again, as you're drafting, writing fast. It's phrases, expressions, words that you come back to over and over again. I still have to do a pass on this manuscript for every time someone smiles or laughs or sighs, which is still also a crutch I have, but this particular pass was all about the word just. And I'm so grateful to my editor for pointing out and pushing me to become a stronger writer. So I hope calling myself out helps you to maybe call yourself out if you also have this problem. I want to know down below in the comments, do you struggle with using the word just too much? If you didn't know that you did before, did you just check and whoopsie daisy? Are there other crutch words or phrases that you rely on too heavily? How do you feel about adverbs? Let's talk about it down below in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and I'll make more kind of crafty videos. I can call myself out for my own writing weaknesses if it helps. I mean, every time I edit a book, I discover something new that I should probably do a little bit better, and you get to come along with me for the journey. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. I post new videos 2 to 3 times a week. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, guys, happy writing.